shut up, you Americans. You always talk, you Americans. You talk and you talk and you say, let me tell you something, and I just want to say this. Well, you're dead now, so shut up.
There isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us all for that.
Good evening. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, July 17th, 2019 AD. Welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories Sludge Report edition. A little side project. Now, I have not been around for a few days. I actually wasn't going to be around at all this week. I've got some other things going that need attention. And also, as I say to you often, take a break from the news. It's not that important. It's lies, lies, damn lies, and more damn lies. We're going to talk about that. I'm your host, Uncle Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've had a good week so far and that you're lightening up, because we don't need these burdens. We don't need the confusion. We don't need the lies. Cast your care upon the Lord, for he cares for you, and he has overcome the world. And he's coming back. These are the last days. They really are. Now, I wish I didn't lose sight of that about every other day or so, or if not more frequently. That's one reason I'm doing this too. This is for my own edification and my own exercise. And I hope it's a benefit to you if you've found this channel or somehow come across this. Either you're were a friend of mine on social media or in real life, or you just happened across it somehow. Welcome to the Sludge Report. Again, I'm your host, Uncle Benny. Let's get started. Now, I do want to say that I wanted the intro music to be Moon Rocks by the Talking Heads. It's a great song. I was only going to play about 45 seconds of it. But, you know, there's a couple versions out there. It's been on YouTube since 2014. Somebody else's, it's not the Talking Heads. It's not even their publishing company that has it out there on like Vivo or something. It's been on there for 5 years or so. And I've learned, though, that if I play something like that, that not only will I almost instantly have my video suspended until that's resolved, or I edit it out, which if I do it with their editing takes all day, and I am live streaming this up to the channel, I can even somehow inadvertently get that prior YouTuber's version of it taken down. And you know, the funny thing is that actually is a CD or an album I own. I bought it. You know, I feel I ought to be able to play about 30 to 45 seconds of it. But, you know, they're not that way. It's kind of weird. You know, they're really good, these algorithms, and clamping down on that, and it just isn't worth it. So what you heard in the intro is a song called Camp America that I actually wrote and put together about 8 years ago. Yeah, Uncle Benny made that. It's got a little video goes with it, too. Good luck finding it, because I spelled Camp America with a K, but you cannot find it very easily on YouTube. Kind of funny, that. Anyway, so in lieu of doing Moon Rocks, I was going to play a song from a cappella church. I've played music from them before, and they had one called "Making the Rough Places Smooth" or something like that. And anyway, so on that note. And again, what we do here in the Sludge Report is I go through the news on the Drudge Report, the Hollywood and Washington D.C. gossip rag. that is masquerading as a legitimate news source, but is still gossip and lies and spin and propaganda and mind control. That's all there is to it. It's really just that simple. But I want to read you a verse here. And that's one thing that we do here if you're new to this little program. And I'm going to try to keep it short. So it's 7:06 right now. I started at 7:02. I got a 4-minute preamble. Let's try to get into the articles. I'm going to riff off the headlines and talk about a couple of them. And unfortunately, I did find a little video I ought to play. It's about 3 or 4 minutes long that you'll enjoy. And we'll talk about that. But in Isaiah 45, verses 2 to 3. Now, this is a bit kind of lifting this out of context. Nevertheless, the Lord is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's not a respecter of persons. He died for everyone's sins who will receive him. And if anyone comes to him, he will in no way cast anyone out. And his promises to the saints of old can be applied to you and to your life. So again, I was going to play that song called Make the Rough Places Smooth, but the audio is really bad. Of course, it's one I wouldn't get a copyright strike on, thankfully, but it says, this is the Lord speaking, I will go before you and make the crooked places straight. Think about that. Crooked places straight. He's going to straighten out the road before you. He's going to unkink the tangles ahead of you. Yeah? I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron. That's power, man. That's power. That's stronger than Sasquatch. I will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that you may know that I, the Lord, which call you by your name, am the God of Israel. Now, I'm one who believes, and this is a good one for doing a creepy campfire story on. Again, the Sludge Report is not creepy campfire stories. When, some might pejoratively refer to me as a replacement theologist, meaning that I don't believe that the state of Israel is God's quote-unquote Israel. They're not God's chosen people destined to drive out the Palestinians, which is what they're doing. Why they aren't just slaughtering them all if they're claiming the Old Testament? I don't know. Maybe because we got cameras now, okay? Nevertheless, many do get slaughtered. And again, this is not an indictment on every Israeli or every Jewish person. Come on, don't make me do your thinking for you. But anyway, the God of Israel, to me, is the God of his people. So if you are a person without guile who sought the Lord in truth and is full of the spirit of truth, you're an Israelite indeed. You're a pilgrim in this land, in this earth. I don't care what country you live in. If you belong to him, you're a pilgrim. You're just passing through because this world is passing away. Yeah? It is. It is. It's passing away. I mean, it's going to go away. And even if this world goes on for another 10,000 years, are you going to? Well, you know the answer to that. Anyway, let's get into it. And again, from my song, you always talk, you Americans, saying, let me show you this and let me tell you something. But you're dead now. So shut up. I like that. What it means, it's funny. Okay, what it means is the news outlets, they're always talking. Let me show you something. They're dead. They're the blind leading the blind. Now, hey, they're leading. They're leading on purpose, mind control, misdirection. They're leading. They're leading, but they know not what they're playing at. Not proper English, but they know not what they do. Yeah? So, on that note, because I played that song and it reminded me of this, in the multitude of words there wanteth not sin, but he that refrains his lips is wise. Now, you probably already know this, but just in case, that in the multitude of words there wants not sin. There lacks no sin. Like, somebody talks and talks and talks, and you could argue, you could say, well, what about you, Uncle Benny? You're talking an hour and a half sometimes. Okay. Well, you got to apply it properly, right? So, and hey, I may speak erroneously sometimes, for sure. In the multitude of words, sin crops up. Why? Because the man's heart is wicked above all things. It's deceitful. Who can even know it? And out of the heart comes the issues of life. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you talk long enough, something's going to come out of your heart that ain't right. You know, that's all I'm saying. But the application to the Drudge Report, these news people, is that they got a program. You know, this is this is the age of the 24-hour news. 24 hours, it's on television. 24 hours, it's on the internet. Heck, the Drudge Report updates every couple minutes. You'll see the screen refresh on its own. You know? And you think that sin isn't abounding there? It is. All right, so I just wanted to, that line in that song, it's a 1 and 40-second song, perfect for an intro. In fact, it is something I favored for my bumper music, if you will, for Creepy Campfire Stories. It's a good little musical piece I made. I'm proud of it, honestly. At the end of it, you maybe not, there's a curse word, God damn you. Now, I said it in one of my last videos. Like, when you say lies, it's okay to say goddamn lies. Okay? Just like when you say time, I hope you always say precious time, especially when you're talking about your own or someone else's. Anyhow, I want to keep this short. I guess good luck with that, you know? But, where was I? Let's just get in here. Trouble's getting back to the moon. Uh-oh, you know what that means. Now, I don't remember which article it was or which day it was, and it's in one of my videos. They talked about getting to the moon. You know, now there's delays, and, you know, they're kind of planting the seed that we've got problems getting back to the moon. Now, listen, the big story is that we went there 50 years ago. 50 years ago this day. There is more computer technology, apparently, in your cell phone than all of NASA had running that mission. You've got more computing power, apparently. Or something like that. The fraught effort to return to the moon. NASA wants to put people back on the lunar surface in 2024, but it doesn't have the budget. Uh-oh. Ding, ding, ding. Well, first of all of my research, and it's pretty extensive, but it's not authoritative as far as, I've never made a documentary. I don't have all the sources cited, but I've done a fair bit of critical analysis of the entire situation, and I have had a vested interest in the story being true, that we went to the moon. But I've had to let that go because I'm more interested in the truth, and I hope you are too, and everything points to me that it's a big, big, goddamn fat lie. Why? Well, this is a big part of it. It doesn't have the budget. What does that mean? Well, it means this. Let's see. I saw it in here. Here we go. In May, the White House asked Congress for an extra, mind you, $1.6 billion in NASA's next budget to start funding this effort. Now remember, that's just to start funding it, and we're 5 years away from that, which would cost $20 billion to $30 billion. And unlike the Apollo program, rely heavily on technology bought from private companies. Now, why do they not tell us why that they're relying heavily on technology bought from private companies when prior to this, I mean, everything they didn't do all the manufacturing of every metal part and every CRT, cathode ray tube, you know, computer monitor, every you know, instrument desk that they had, right? They buy things from the private sector, you know. But they're saying they just want to emphasize they're relying heavily on technology bought from private companies. Well, I don't know if it's going to turn out like the F-18 or F-16 or whichever one of these multi-million-dollar jet fighters that we have bought parts from China. You know, whether they're our enemy or not, you know, it's hard to really say. But, you know, when they're putting computer chips and things like that in our military aircraft, to me that seems kind of a compromise, right? Anyway, that's an aside. I'm not getting too far in a rabbit trail on that. But here it is. They're asking for more money, and one of the justifications is that they got to buy it from private companies. Well, this leads you to like defense contractors. Think like Halliburton, okay? These companies charge exorbitant prices for things. You've known about the waste and the, I don't know how it was like a massively expensive toilet seat, the Pentagon. You've heard of this kind of stuff. If you haven't, I mean, don't even bother looking into it. Go outside and play. Don't worry about it. The world it's going to hell in a handbasket, and the greedy liars, filthy liars like this, are fleecing it because they want to be gods. They believe they're gods over you and me. They believe that they should have dominion, and they get off on that. And they, you and I, people who work, live quote-unquote normal lives, by and large, are human resources, farm animals, okay, that produce for them or do things for them or generate things for them. It's a way of creating slavery that doesn't look like slavery to the untrained eye, okay? All right, maybe that was a little bit convoluted explanation, but, I'm not going to waste my precious time reading this whole thing. I think sometimes they make these articles so long, it's just you can't read them. All right, anyway, there you go. Bezos. This is the Amazon guy. I spend my billions on space because we're destroying the Earth. Don't even need to click on it. There's your message right there. People are going to look up to him like Steve Jobs or something. We're destroying the Earth. And people buy that. They don't think for themselves. They take somebody like this and think he must be really smart because he's ahead of Amazon and all this stuff. Well, maybe he is. There's under indications that some of these people like this are in companies that are, playing a role put there. Okay, that's just an aside. Have that for free. Just take it under advisement. Do your own homework, okay? I don't know. Maybe he organically started Amazon in his garage, whatever. But it's funny how all these people, whether it's Bill Gates, Bezos, they always tend to be on the side of global warming, climate change, now they call it. They always tend to be right along with these agendas that have to do with more enslavement, more regulation, all these kinds of things. Bill Gates, immunizations, vaccines, stuff like that. I mean, it sounds good on the surface. Oh, we want to save people, want to help people in Africa, help them against AIDS and all these kinds of things. Well, really? Where do they come from? What happens to these people? Do they change over time? Or were they like this from the beginning? And where did they get their start? I don't know the answers to all of that. All I know is that there's puzzling evidence, okay? All right, Kevin Spacey, an actor. What is this? Is this really important news? Well, in America it is, because our celebrities are like royalty. They're not to me. I don't get a thrill. If you get a thrill, if you're an autograph hunter, or you wouldn't wash your hand after shaking somebody's hand, or you get all excited and jump up and down, or you want to make Facebook posts if you happen to be in a picture with a celebrity or something, I think you're a little warped. Okay? I think that you have a problem. You've been infected with the virus. Spacey groping charges dropped. Well, I read some of this, and, how do you know this wasn't a humiliation ritual to start with? What is that, Uncle Benny? Look into it. Let me give you a clue. Did you go to college, and did you get sucked into the whole fraternity scam? If you're one of these people who was in a sorority or fraternity, you don't have to think too hard to know that many of them do humiliation rituals. Why? Well, you answer that for yourself. There's bonding. There's putting someone in, subjugation. Again, domination is important. Domination is important to the powers that shouldn't be. All kinds of domination. From sexual to... And domination goes hand in hand with humiliation. What do you mean, Uncle Benny? BDSM. Bondage, whatever the D stands for, and sadomasochism. I don't remember what the D stands for. But that's, dominating someone, you're going to have someone who's being humiliated. We shouldn't lord over one another. Now, this isn't to say there aren't proper structures of authority, or there aren't a man is not head of the house type of a thing, or should be. If he's a good man, he's going to be a good head of the house. Probably nothing worse than being under a wicked man who acts. I think a lot of I wonder. I don't know the statistics, but I think a lot of wicked men actually take that role, more so than many good men. At least these days, where your children's are being raised as soy boys, and they've got endocrine disruptors and hormones in your milk, and you name it, wrecking their manhood. Really. Let's keep moving. Again, I want to keep it short. We're at 7:21. If I'm doing 30 minutes, I've got 11 more minutes. It's not going to happen. I'm just telling you right now. Trials of HIV jab to start after monkey test success. Okay, who knows? Beyonce Lion King song about. Again, this is like right up here. Big news. This is important news. This is the Drudge Report. It's very powerful. Now I want to skip over to an article right here. Matt Drudge's future is now realized, and that has legacy media enraged. Okay, this takes a lot of roller coaster turns. There's Matt Drudge, the Hollywood gossip and Washington, D.C. gossip rag guy, newsman, right? Well, he's a propagandist now, but if you read through this, I pulled something out of this, a couple things. One thing is, look, what they're doing is legitimizing Matt Drudge. Now, you could say, well, this is a conservative. No, it's really not, if you look at it. How do you know? Uncle Benny, look, I told you several times. I'm sure he has more than, I'm sure it's more than just him putting these on. He's got to have people working for him. Here you go. And we'll talk about this article. Man tied up wife's lover and cut off penis, deputies say. It's just one of those little, it's like a National Enquirer article, So there always will be stuff like this. Almost every day, there's some little prurient, I'm still working on saying that word right. It's a tough one. Prurient, lascivious, some kind of article that Drudge is right. It's dredged up from, the depths of the world's news places. This actually, I was expecting this could probably be even another country. Well, it was in Florida. So let's see. Do I see any more off the top of my head? Or excuse me, just right off the bat here. No, I don't see one. They're usually down here. I made note of one time recently, and I don't even remember what the article was about. It was featured up here, which was interesting. All right, so anyway, another thing right here. Matt Drudge, this article really just adds to the legitimacy of the Drudge Report being, it validates it almost like it's the alternative news. Like you're getting a straight skinny here, because he was just a guy who made a news site in his Hollywood bedroom, and he basically is still doing it today, and that the news belongs to the citizens like that. So he says right here, every citizen can be a reporter and take on the powers that shouldn't be. Well, I don't see Matt Drudge taking on the powers that shouldn't be. In fact, I see him furthering agendas, one way or the other. It's death by 1,000 cuts. You can take a look at, it's like a fly in the ointment, a drop of urine in your water. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. He's part of the problem. He posts a lot of things that are, just outright propaganda. Okay, so let's see here. Oh yeah, I did want to say one more thing about that article. This is where some of you may go flying out of the back of the wagon. Okay, but it's worth noting because it was worth it to them to say it just to make a joke. They pulled it out of the ether to make a joke and slandered a man. A good name is to be desired above great riches, and it's no light thing to speak evil of someone without cause. Now, let me show you where that is. It's at the top. Bringing these groups together is beyond irresponsible. It is essentially conducting a hate summit at the White House. Okay, hold on a minute. So based off that line, this is what I want to say. Based off that line, you would think that the president hosted KKK leader David Duke in the Rose Garden for a Sunday interview as if his opinions mattered. David Duke has nothing to do with the rest of this article. David Duke is a real man, a real person. He ran for, I don't know if he ran for president, ran for Senate or something years ago. When he was a young man, he got involved in the KKK KKK, okay? And he's not in it anymore. That's not what he's about. Now, he did learn a lot and continued his studies. It's actually Dr. David Duke, and he's extremely intelligent, and he has a radio program. Now, some of you are going to even conservatives, you might go, you're supporting David Duke? Well, even Trump distanced himself. You must be a racist. Well, I'm not, and I know I'm not, and no matter how many times you say it, it doesn't make it so. It's you perpetuating a lie in your head because you've been brainwashed to believe that anything to do with Dr. David Duke is racism. Well, it's not. You can learn a lot from Dr. David Duke about what's happening in the country and the racism directed against white people, frankly. You know, you don't see Louis Farrakhan, his name, and he's made a lot of statements and called for some things to happen that really border, proper speech, that you shouldn't be inciting violence or something, okay? If not actually doing that. I'm just pulling that out of my, memory banks here. I'd have to go looking for it. But, he's said some really, some things, okay? David Duke doesn't talk like that. And he didn't. And there actually was a movie, I think, recently made about him that's complete. I haven't seen it, but I know enough things about it that it's not accurate. It's fictionalized, and it's done to further this agenda. Because the things that you could learn from Dr. David Duke threaten the racist agenda towards destroying the white European heritage, the European American heritage in this country that has really built this country on Puritan ethics, Protestant ethics, work ethics and decency and moralities and things like that, that through the invasion, through the border of bringing, just like they did in Europe, overran it with from the Islamic countries, it changes the landscape. It changes the laws. It changes the ability of society to function the way it did in the quote-unquote good old days. Now, you could argue there never were good old days. I mean, the country's always had problems. Every society will. But the fact is that there's a lot of the reason, and this is, again, how I'm reading the news, and I want to share it with you, is that they pulled this out of the ether. Dr. David Duke had nothing to do. First of all, they didn't even give him the doctor credit. Just made a joke out of him, making him a pariah. And he doesn't get a lot of traction. Occasionally he'll show up on a national news show or something like that. But, Dr. David Duke is very astute and very clear on what's going on in this country with the effectively race wars. There is a race war. Make no mistake about it. It's going on right in your face. And it has been for years. It's really ramping up. And it will, eventually it's going to be too late to turn back a lot of the things that are happening, okay? All right, anyway, moving on. I just want to point that out there, that first of all, this may be very uncomfortable for you, and if it is, it's been because you've been programmed. You find out who this guy is. You find out what he's all about. I'm not saying I agree with everything he ever says or has said, or, I haven't read his books. I've listened to him on the radio quite a bit in the last couple of years. Excuse me. He's on Rents Radio, okay? He has a show, and it's on at 11 a.m. Eastern, I believe, and there's quite a number of things you can learn from it. And that's what again, I'm interested in the truth. I pray to be in the truth for, almost 2 decades, or actually longer than 2 decades now. And at whatever cost, I want to know and be in the truth. I don't want to be in a lie. I don't want to hear lies, know lies, operate in lies, decide from lies, tell lies, you name it. I want to know the truth of what's going on. Anyway, enough about that. That's how I make these too long. So enough of that. That article's done. We're done. All right. So if you're still with me, great. So here we go with a story that's really not national news, but in a sense it is, because it's a reflection of, most of the big cities are run by leftists. And poverty abounds, crime abounds, All right, 17 kids assault 45-year-old man at Philadelphia public school. And one thing I sometimes neglect to do lately is talk about the bad reporting going on here. They don't even, I read it, I don't know if I read every single word in here, but I could not find anything in here as I looked through this article as to what instigated this fight. Now, the guy is a 45-year-old man assaulted by 17 juveniles between ages of 12 and 18. That's young, okay? It's really young, and that's very frightening. 17 juveniles. Doesn't say whether they're just men or just women or a mix. I'm sure it wasn't just women. That would be a very big anomaly. Incident has a neighborhood on edge. The father of a lifeguard was attacked by a group of teens. Police are hoping to find the 17 kids responsible. Where did they go? They ran off, right? And no witnesses. Nobody's telling them yet where they are, who they were. Anyway, so I wanted to just, it doesn't say what happened really. It's just, again, more fear and loathing. Be frightened. Don't go to the pool. Be afraid of those teenagers. Be afraid of the youths, okay? This person, Gift, it doesn't matter who it is. I'm not going to look for the quote. Kids aren't being disciplined the way they should be. That's what it is. The parents just don't care anymore, Gift said. And you know, whoever that, well, let's look who it was. Gift. Who's Gift? Is it a policeman? Mayfair resident Patty Gift. Okay, sounds like a woman. So it was a pile-on, but you know, she's right. In Proverbs 13, it says, "He that spares the rod hates his son, but he that loves him chasteneth betimes," meaning, you know, when necessary at times. And what that means, spare the rod, spoil the child. Hey, let me tell you something. When I was growing up, I got the belt. When I was in school, I got the paddle. And I can tell you right now, although I didn't like that, and there was an incident once when I was paddled in school that was it was abuse. It was I ended up bruised. It was not for any real reason, like any specific incident, precipitating event. It was, I think the guy's dead now, but you know, that was traumatic, and it was abusive, and resulted in my mom, at least, contacting the school and saying, "Don't you touch my son again," because it was not just him. I mean anybody, because it was quite horrible, and you know, it wasn't as horrible as it could have been, or what children experience every day by adults somewhere. Anyway, he that spares his rod hates his son. But what I was saying is, you know, I got whipped with the belt, and I got spanked with the paddle, and looking back, you know, it hurts me to say this a little bit, but I'm glad I was. Geez, I didn't get enough of them. I still have problems of, you know, walking the straight and narrow and doing everything right, you know? Because, why? Well, maybe all the foolishness wasn't beaten out of me. You know, I say beaten. Don't get me, I wasn't beaten. I was not beaten. It was not like that. Only time that ever really happened was that particular teacher, and who he and another teacher, a female, they were both gym teachers. They took me into a broom closet, basically, and would not tell me the specific reason he was paddling me other than it was time. And I was way too old for this. I was in junior high, but let me put it this way. It's embarrassing. Honestly, if I look back and I could go back and have done it, I would have run out of that room, or I would have defended myself. Physically, yeah. Oh, yeah. Knock the guy's teeth out, kick him in the crotch. I should have done that. I should have done that because I was about to be assaulted, and I was assaulted. Anyway, that's just something aside. He that spares his rod hates his son, but he that loves him chastens him betime. You know, and he does it in love, by the way. It isn't abusive. So that lady's right. The kids aren't being disciplined. And why? Well, we're not reading Matthew 24 today, but this is end time stuff in 2 Timothy. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection. Trucebreakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. Do you know, let me say two things on this. the what I want to lift out of there for this application is without natural affection. A man or a woman who has a natural affection for their child may punish them, but they do it in love. They do it because they love them, and they do it in a way that's not injurious or damaging them physically. Isn't going to leave a scar. And there are some children that all they need to be is told and corrected. There are other children who the really thing they're only going to respond to is kind of a spank on the bottom, And now in this country, you can do that, and if somebody sees you do it, CPS is going to be called, and they come and take your children away and give them to child molesters. How about that? That's happened. Does that mean every time they go to CPS, they end up there? No. Okay. So, and then the next thing is false accusers. In this country anymore, and that's one reason to just forget the news. People are tried in the public opinion. They are tried. The media will have its way with someone's name and ruin them without them ever even having a jury trial, a right to face their accusers, anything. And to me, even if the person is guilty, that's tantamount to false accusation. They've excoriated, they've crucified someone by basically making them guilty before they were ever given, before due process was carried out. Think about that. That's really tantamount to false accusation, isn't it? Even if they're guilty, they're entitled to a fair trial. And media makes it unfair because they want a juicy story. Now, we're going to move into something like that. All right, let's get rid of that one. Wait a minute. Did I just close? Yeah, that's the one I wanted to... I did want to click on this one, which is a prurient, prurient article, okay, that was dredged up. It's not national news. It's not Holly gossip. It's nothing to do with D.C. It's just like a Inquirer story. But yet, it does happen sometimes, and I want to talk about it because I want to express an opinion on this. So, a gun-toting Florida man broke in the home of his wife's lover. So, the wife was an adulterer, apparently, allegedly, and so was the, adultery. Now, I will say that there are places, probably still in the South, and if not other places in this country, where if a man is caught in the home of a woman and they're having an affair and the husband comes home and catches them in bed together, he can blow them away and he won't be going to jail. That's true. That's true. And I don't know what to say about that because, again, it's not due process and things like that. But, how do you know your wife isn't being raped? If you come home and some man's on top of her. Well, you probably'd have to kill them both because if you're shooting him through the back, or if he jumps up and runs or comes at you, I don't really know. I mean, every situation will be different. But let me tell you something. This is a serious thing. You need to stay away from another man's wife. And if you're a woman, you need to love your husband. Well, let me say that again. You need to love your home. Okay? Your husband's to love you. And you need to love your home. And that's what Bible say anyway. So, all right. So he goes in, he ties the guy up and cuts off the man's penis with a pair of scissors. Now, I'm going to offer this. If anybody ever breaks in your house and wants to tie you up or anything, or if you're a woman and you're abducted, you fight like you're going to be killed right there and get away from them. Don't ever let them take you somewhere else. Don't ever let them tie you up. That's when your fight begins. And you fight to the death, okay? Because it never ends good. Anyway, guy got tied up, and he cut off his genitalia. And so why I want to talk about this is because when I see this, this makes every man cringe. Okay, it does. And you can understand why, even if you're a woman, I'm sure. This, I believe, is worthy of the death penalty. Meaning if you clearly did a crime like this, and I put this in there with acid attacks, okay? So crimes like an acid attack, where you permanently damage something irreplaceable on someone, like cutting off this guy's penis, clitorectomies on women, on young girls. which has happened in Michigan. I think that woman, they dropped all the charges against her. She's fighting it with her religion freedoms. If you know what I'm talking about, I don't remember all the details, but there was a doctor in Michigan, I believe it was, who was charged or arrested because she performed clitorectomies on Islamic girls. It's sick. How do you know it's sick? Well, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Okay? So he's destroying the only organ that the only sole purpose of the clitoris is to give a woman sexual pleasure. God made that. It's a gift. Who are they to take away that gift? Who are they to maim, to destroy a girl and a woman's life like that? It's not right. It's satanic. That's why when you hear me say Islam is satanic doctrine, I mean, there's so many. Let me count the ways, right? Satanic. Well, not all Muslims do that, Uncle Benny. Really? Do they have to? How many of them condemn it? Okay. Anyway, if you're like an Islam sympathizer, then you really need to pray to God to lead you into the truth. That's all. That's all I have to say about that. Does this mean you hate Muslims? Don't make me do your thinking for you. Of course not. It's not what it's saying. Anyway, so acid attacks, which are very prevalent in Great Britain and England anyway, mainly because that's sort of it's one of the ways Islamists, something they do. It's where it's picked up from. Doesn't mean that the only ones who ever do it are them. But, to walk up to someone and throw hydrochloric acid in their face. You ever seen a woman who was her husband or her brother or someone who threw acid in her face to punish her, and then shamed her the rest? Now she can't go anywhere. She looks like her face is melted. All kinds of problems. It's horrific, and it's a big problem in countries like India, Pakistan, who knows where else, but it's also becoming a problem in the West. Now, it's not really prevalent in the United States that I'm aware of yet, but give it time, because there's more and more of them coming in here, and there are more and more of them that aren't assimilating this culture whatsoever. And those ways they bring with them, man. They bring it with them. So anyway, my point is like, I want to relate that to some of those other things, and I will say right now, say it to your face. Anybody who is clearly guilty of maiming someone like that, someone cuts off, whether it's a man or a woman, cuts off a man's penis like Lorena Bobbitt did, they should be executed. Same with if anyone throws acid in a man's face, a woman's face, or anywhere. If someone attacks another human being with hydrochloric acid and it's not in self-defense, I believe they ought to be executed summarily as soon as they're, pronounced guilty. Of course, I know we've got, decades and decades of appeals on stuff like this, but, I'm just saying in my little fantasy world of getting things straightened out. And I tell you what, this sounds boastful, but I think it's really true. If I had the ability to go President Duarte, the guy in the Philippines who was declared death penalty on, I think he declared vigilantism is okay on drug dealers. Now, I haven't really tracked how that's gone, but I'll tell you what, if you put in the proper laws and penalties for some of these kinds of crimes, give it 3 generations. So let's say 100 years, call each generation 30 years. It'll be gone. There won't be these problems. Yeah, you might have the occasional psychopath, or you might have the occasional person that is flipped out on drugs, hallucinating. It does something like this again. But the truth is like, it won't be your regular Joe, Well, what's the difference between this guy cutting off his penis versus if he was to kill the adulterer? Well, first of all, he broke into the other guy's house. He went and got revenge. I don't know what he was planning to do to his wife, if anything, but your wife's cheating on you, throw her out. Like the next day that you know about it. Throw her out. Change the locks, stuff on the porch. She's gone. And then have your house frickin' sanitized. Get that skunk out of there. That's all I'm saying. And vice versa. If if you're going to enter into marriage with someone, and you have children with them in particular, don't go stepping out on them. I know that there's lots of reasons. Let's say someone's, let's say there's no physical relationship anymore or something like that. Every situation has a degree of difference to it. I don't like to paint things with a broad brush, but I can't articulate everything. I just have to kind of just throw this out there. So this might be a little bit extreme for you, but you need to really think about it. If you're a man, what if someone cut off your penis? Okay. If you're a woman, what if someone, did that surgery on you and you basically have no sensation down there anymore. And you might even have, I don't know, I haven't looked into this too much, but you might have urinary problems after that. You might have infection problems. You might have just all kinds of social problems, because now it's not like they remove someone's hormones. They just remove the ability to experience that connection, that feeling, which is God-given for a reason. Didn't evolve from slime, people. You didn't. Okay, it's just that simple. All right, let's move on from that slutty article. Slutty, I meant to say smutty. All right, so here is the lying lips, okay? Large number of great white sharks off of California coast visible from air. Now, the article on the Drudge Report, I got to pull the Drudge Report up again. Let's pull this up. It says, I thought it said teeming. I'm pretty sure it said teeming earlier. Where's the article? Where'd it go? May have gotten rid of it all of a sudden, even since I've been doing this. Because, see, they move things around. Here's the back on the moon deal. It's down here. Okay, we're coming up on an hour. I got to wrap this up. Got to wrap it up. Where is the article on the sharks? Okay, so I can do this. Just give me 1 second. Oh, here we go. All right. Here it is. Yeah. Aerial footage shows California coast teeming with great whites. Now it's juxtaposed with an article, wary swimmers share waves with deadly sharks off Cape Cod. Well, there's a couple of things I want to point out that may be important about this. First of all, this is kind of a story that, why is it national news? It's really, or it's not that big a news, but it's not news at all. So look at this.
That's the beginning.
Wait a minute. Don't know why it's blinking. So it's hanging up for a second.
Apex Size Betty U takes us on an exclusive helicopter tour over Monterey Bay.
There's a great white right here.
This has become a regular sighting for Chris Goulardi, a pilot with specialized helicopters. Great white sharks in the Monterey Bay swimming near the surf line.
The average great white shark grows about a foot a year.
Okay, so let me point this out. You counted one shark there. We may see up to 4. Is that a large number? It's not even double digits. Is that teeming with sharks? Why even do? Because 1, it's not even a story unless you say that. 2, why lie? Well, the thing is with liars, many of them, they have to lie. It's like sin that has to manifest. They have lying in their lips. They have a lying tongue.
And so what, we've been doing this for 5 years or so now, and every year they get a little bigger, so now we're seeing these sharks averaging around 15 plus feet. There's one, a big one right down below in the middle, kind of a three right there.
From 800 feet in the air and no doors on our helicopter, it wasn't hard to see the stealthy creatures
There's 1, there's 2.
gliding just beneath the ocean's surface.
This particular part of Monterey Bay between the cement ship and Capitola is seeing so many great whites, the locals are calling it Shark Park. We've been up in the air for about 10 minutes, and already we've seen well over a dozen sharks of varying sizes.
It's warm, calm, shallow water, and the sharks come in there every single day, and people...
Well, she said well over a dozen sharks. But again, horrible reporting. They're in a helicopter flying around. Who knows how many miles they did a circle around? We don't know. But if this is all they've got to show us, if they saw a dozen sharks, then show us a dozen sharks. we're seeing maybe 4, maybe. And you don't even, are they mating? I'm not hip right now on great white shark mating seasons or where they do it or things like that. In fact, I don't think shark experts are either, by the way. And how do we know there aren't some babies in here? A couple of these look pretty small.
Have figured this out. We're seeing it from the air. The boats are coming in. The surfers are coming in.
Scientists say that the water temperatures in the area.
So the boats are coming in. What, are people afraid the shark is going to attack their boat and they're going to sink? You know, really? The I don't know if they said surfers or swimmers, but you know, that reporter, her name was YU, I forgot her first name already. She said we're, you know, in the air with no doors on our helicopter. What do you think? Is you going to fall? Is there, like, really, you're going to fall out and be just gobbled up by a shark? What is this promotion of irrational fear of sharks? Now, listen, hey, great white sharks are quite scary monsters, you know. But they're swimming around just to eat people, mostly. It happens. But, you know, even if they attack someone, very often it's just an exploratory bite. They swim off, you know. And there have been horrific shark attacks. I'm not, you know, again, don't make me do your thinking for you, okay? My point is this is not a teeming number of sharks. They can't even come up with the 12 she reportedly saw, because it wouldn't be teeming with sharks if you said, well, there was one here, and there was like one a mile out this way, and there was another one like, you know, a quarter mile out that way. That's not teeming with sharks. It's just a big lie.
Have been slightly warmer than usual in the last couple of years, which has been attracting younger sharks. Historically, they're more common near Southern California.
Growing up on this beach, we've always known they were here, but without having the aerial shots, you know, it kind of brings it more to our knowledge.
Okay, so, you know, who knows that the helicopter guy didn't know someone, or, you know, someone's make a story out of this. You know, they've known that lady, a resident there, said they've known they've always been out there, but without the aerial shots, they didn't know how many or whatever. So is this even news? Is this even like an anomaly? But here's where it gets really interesting. So on the East Coast, where U.S. swimmers share waves with deadly sharks off Cape Cod. Now, I saw another article about great whites off Cape Cod. Now, remember, that's where the movie Jaws was located, you know, in the movie. You know, I grew up with that movie. And that movie, it didn't leave your mind if you saw it when you were a kid. Every time you entered even a swimming pool, you had to think if there was a shark going to get you. I'm not kidding. You know, so anyway, so why are they doing this? Well, it's just news. Okay, I think there's something else going on. I think it has to do with first of all, fear. Remember how much of this is about fear, right? That's enough. I could just stop right there. Just be afraid. You can't go in the water. Be afraid. You can't go, you can't trust a stranger. Be afraid. You know? Don't smile back at people. Be afraid. But, you know, you think they won't find a way to put this into global climate change? You know, didn't she just say something about warmer temperatures have attracted younger sharks now? Normally they're in Southern California, but, well, really, let's see the data. How many sharks did they count last year there? How about 10 years ago? We don't know. This news article on the large number team is just so full of holes. It's just nonsense. Go outside and play. The news is crap. It's mind control. You think we're ever going to have an intelligent, reasoning, rational society when this garbage is peddled for truth? They'll peddle any shit they think you want to hear, Howard Beale said in the movie Network. If you still have not seen it yet, you should have watched it by now. I told you. You should watch that movie. Watch that movie. Okay? Okay, what's this? I don't know. This was the story I was looking for. Where was I? Trump and tweets. Oh, yeah. All right, so we've got the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse here. The squad, they're being called. Excuse me. They're not the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but they're 4 interesting characters, that's for sure. And let me say this as an aside. This woman, can't, maybe I just have to let it play out. I think that's an ad. All All right, the 4 minority congresswomen. Okay, well, the one of them, that AOC, this would be I don't know. Just go on YouTube and you find out. You know, she was a bartender, but she also was an actress. She did an audition for a group of people for the role of this candidate. And they took care of everything for her, promoted her. I mean, yeah, she had to go out and do this thing, but she got the job. You think she was a bartender with all these great ideas? They're not great, but with all these ideas, and that she's just like some firebrand and political savant because she definitely gets the media attention. Well, you know, they give her their attention because that's what they're promoting. You hear lies often enough, you begin to repeat them. You know, if you read the comments on almost any YouTube video, even the liberal media stuff, I mean, it's all mind control, whether it's conservative or liberal, but most of the people recognize that this creature is, you know, she's just nonsense, you know? She's in Congress and she gets so much airtime. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, so Trump, I didn't read his tweets or anything, but they said that he did tweets targeting 4 minority congressmen as un-American. And you know, it's true. It's true that a lot of these things they're saying it's like coming from another country, and maybe it is. It's like, what do you even, this is where you live, and this is a great system, or has been, and you want to bring in systems that have again and again shown they don't work and actually end in deaths of millions, okay? But anyway, okay, most Republicans say they're doing the partisan thing, say they agreed with his comments, but he made some comments that aren't true. I guess he said to them that the congresswoman to go, you'd have to read the actual tweet, and I should have pulled it up, but I didn't, to go back to the countries from which they came. Well, there's only one, and that's the Ileana, this one right here, the Muslim, Somalian, this person. The other ones were, you know, reportedly and presumably born here. So they're Americans. Now, they've had their heads spun, most of them, somehow. You know, they went to government schools, most likely, or they've been co-opted, or they've got their own agendas that they've latched on to people who they don't care what the agenda is. They really don't even care about the issues, possibly. That happens because a lot of politicians are whores. They're just whores. They're greedy for gain, greedy for power, greedy for attention, greedy for a false sense of importance. They're narcissistic, and what they'll the highest bidder will have their they'll be able to use their voice and charisma and their talents, you know, however they want. I believe that's what this AOC character, she may actually believe the garbage coming out of her mouth. I don't know how she could even sleep at night looking so stupid all the time. But then again, there's the whole fact she probably has, you know, some handlers that are reminding her that, you know, don't worry about those people that criticize you because you have a whole generation that believes you, that feels the way, and she does, because there's a whole generation of millennials that believe feelings are facts. Okay? So when you have the feeling about these families being separated when they've broken the law and they've got to be processed and all this stuff, and all she does is harp that note. I saw a video today of her talking to the ICE director or whatever, a lawman basically, and, you know, really writing him about separating families. He said, look, I was a law enforcement officer. If I arrested somebody for domestic violence, I'd have to separate that father from their child. I'd have to take them in. You know, it's the same thing. So she basically was not really recognizing the illegality of the invasion. And she wants to say, well, they're asylees, and I didn't even know that was a word. I guess it is. Asylum seekers. They're asylees, and that's not illegal. But they're not coming in the right way. You know, they're breaking the law. Anyway, these 4 seem to be kind of all on the same page, and just, it's really astounding. It really is. But don't forget, people voted for them. They aren't even the problem. And there's people supporting them, giving them big money. So these are just mouthpieces, you know. The problem is they're multiplying. Let me more. But I'm getting way far afield from what I want to talk about. You know, this guy, this character, President Trump, told, and I didn't read the exact tweet, but to say they should go back to where they came from, well, this is the only one that came from anywhere, like outside the country. So that naturally causes strife and division and more, you know, it just causes sparks. Is he that stupid? Or is he enjoy the strife? Or is he supposed to make that kind of strife, make those kind of remarks, knowing they're incendiary, knowing the left is going to run with it? I believe the latter. I do. Whether he enjoys it or not, I don't think really enters much into it. You know, it's just the partisan shuffle, playing one side against the other. You know, how many people say united we stand, divided we fall? What do we have? Division all the time. This guy's a divider. Trump is divisive. Believe me, I'd rather listen to him or look at him on TV versus the woman he ran against, that creature. But, you know, he's got his own set of problems that are pretty horrific, you know. Anyway, without getting into that, all that. So let's move on. Okay, tape shows 92 party. Well, you know, the video is exactly 1 hour. I really don't want to go any further because I got some things to do. And you know, I really, this little video, it's 4 minutes. But I would probably talk about it for 10. It's just such a horrible piece of news. You know what? It's too good. It is perfect for the Sludge Report. Okay, yeah, it's on NBC News, but, you know, the Sludge Report features it. So, inside a 1992 party with Trump. It's 27 years ago, first of all. Let's just start there, okay? So, here is allegedly Donald Trump and allegedly Jeffrey Epstein. I'm pretty sure that is who they are. He looks way different. Eyebrows are way different. Yeah, it was 30 years ago. So, let's play this. Now, this is NBC News or probably MSNBC. It's got the... It's got this creature. Hang on. Mika, something. And then her lover.
So we want to show you now some footage from 1992 that our producers found in the NBC archives that shows...
Okay, if you don't recognize this is Morning Joe, and this is his lover. They were on co-hosting together, and she's the daughter of Zbigniew, foreign policy advisor type person, wrote a lot of books, an elitist, basically, okay? Now, I want to play this. This story is just nothing. It's more division. It's all innuendo. It's just innuendo and division. There's nothing really noteworthy in here. Now, there's a few things you could look at and see objectionable. You know, you see in Trump dance with beautiful young girls, and I think he even smacks one on the butt. They didn't even catch that, but I caught it. And but then he's with this guy who's now being, you know, excoriated and tried. Like he's guilty until, you know, he's being shown as guilty without a fair trial yet. You know, I'm not saying he's not of doing certain things, but my point is like they just by association are smearing Donald Trump. And again, the partisan shuffle. It's doing the division. And you and I may sit here and go, we know what they're doing. This doesn't really affect me. Don't kid yourself. This stuff affects us, okay? It's very powerful witchcraft. But at the same time, there are millions of people of all different stripes, ages, gender, you name it, who this goes into their subconscious. This goes into their sense of, you know, their world paradigm. And their feelings are now facts. Remember I said that? You think about that. There are people whose feelings are facts. So what's going on here? It's witchcraft. These people are creating an emotional experience when you watch this. Because most people have already made it like this guy was raping 3-year-old girls. Okay? First of all, I don't think that was the case. And I would actually like to do a creepy campfire story on this situation. When am I going to do these creepy campfire stories? I don't know. You tell me. I got a whole other life going on. You know, I've got things going on. I'm not a professional YouTuber, and I don't plan to be. I have ideas for things. But Epstein, guilt by association, this is going to create more of the animosity. You know, I don't know. There is a lot of underpinnings for potential powder keg in 2020, the next election. And no matter who wins, half the country is going to flip out, you know? And we've got a lot of problems that are waiting to happen, and they're being stoked. There are fires being stoked. There's pressures being created, and bottlenecks, and you get eruptions of violence, and things can be set off, and I think that's where things are going. When it'll happen, I don't know. But anyway, so let's listen to more of this, and just listen to the innuendo. And remember, this is very important. Feelings are facts for so many of their viewers. Fox News viewers too, by the way. Don't think I'm on any side here. Okay, I'm on the side of the truth. These people are liars. They are deceivers. They're really kind of perverted in a twisted way. I don't know how people can do this and sleep at night. So watch this. It's not even news. It's unfortunate for Trump that he actually hosted this guy, but why wouldn't he? He was a big name in Palm Beach. He was a financier. What he knew, or, the guy looks pretty young here. He's 66 now, apparently. So this was almost 30 years ago. So he was just a kind of a young man. How much had he really built his little, wicked empire? I don't know, but just listen.
Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein, who is now a sex offender and accused sex trafficker, looking at and talking about women at a party.
Okay, well, I got to stop that right there.
Accused sex trafficker.
First of all, remember, she didn't say little girls, women. They're younger women, but they're women, okay? They're grown women, and they all look like they're having a blast, by the way. How many of them are hired escort? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But men and women will talk about the opposite sex at a party. Their conversation may or may not be similar, but it's not news. It's nothing even lascivious, really.
At and talking about women at a party.
Welcome to the Southern White House.
Since becoming president, Donald Trump has branded Mar-a-Lago the Southern White House, a place that entertains foreign leaders, where military strikes are ordered, and whose terrace served as an open-air situation room over dessert.
And we had the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen.
But in the 90s, Mar-a-Lago was Trump's South Florida party palace, one frequented by Jeffrey Epstein, who is facing charges for sex trafficking. He has pleaded not guilty. The president says his relationship with Epstein was no different than anyone else in their elite circle.
Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
Yet, a tape in the NBC archives of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention.
Donald! Donald! Donald!
The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving...
Okay, so let me just make a note here that, let's think about this. I don't know how much money the guy ever really had or does have, or even the Epstein. There's a lot of questions about that. But the fact is, because believe me, there are a lot of people in the world who are playing a role. They're given a role. They're funded. Anyway, because the world's a stage, I'm telling you. So anyway, you know what? So what? A guy who's rich, especially a guy who maybe has loose morals, and a lot of people do. They're adulterers. They get, if they could get away with something, they'll do it. They don't have a conscience that's tender. They don't have a heart that's circumcised or they're responsive to the conviction of the Holy Spirit in their heart. They have a conscience that's seared, and they have hard hearts. They're lovers of their own selves. What did we just read in 2 Timothy? So there's a lot of people, and some you've probably heard that a lot of executive office CEOs are psychopaths or extremely wealthy people. A lot of them get there, and because they're psychopathic behavior, they can be very callous, very selfish, and always leveraging things up for their own interests. And that's kind of how it happens, right? Scum rises to the top. We've all heard this, right? So There's nothing new under the sun. Men love beautiful young women. Okay? Part of it's biology. Women, it's almost like an inverse correlation here. They love rich men. Not all care about that, but you know, if you've got ears to hear and eyes to see, and you have half a brain, you know what I mean? Okay? A rich man who's already been married, I don't know how many times by this time, and I think he had affairs. Don't quote me. I don't remember. I don't know. I'm not saying that. But why spend all the money or do all the, get all these women? And well, anyway, this is a party, and he said it was like the Bronco cheerleaders, I said, or Colts. I don't know what they said. The point is that here's a guy surrounding himself with beautiful women, or stocking a party with beautiful young women, one way or the other, inviting them, offering them, free admission, drinks, maybe a stay. Who knows what the enticement is? It goes on right around your corner from you. They'll have ladies' night, right? Women get in free. It's what's the difference? It's just a little bit higher scale. So here you have beautiful women around rich men, and rich men around beautiful young women. I don't see something weird about that. It's something that may be conducive to sin and conducive to fleshly living and all that kind of stuff. But the point is that does not make a guy a child molester, So, but they're smearing him by association. Don't forget the premise here: feelings are facts. Listen to the way this Mika creature talks about this. Just listen to her linguistic programming. And I wonder, it would not surprise me that there are characteristics of neurolinguistic programming going in her accentuations of words and just the lilt and the cadence. Just listen.
Bachelor lifestyle for an appearance on Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests. Among them, the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state
I couldn't stop it fast enough. First of all, it looks like he showed up with a woman. I don't know if she's with him, she's by herself, or she's with Epstein. But did you see him? Did you see how young he looked? Kind of looked a little dorky. He certainly didn't even look dressed and dressed really expensive clothing. I don't know, just an observation. But Trump goes out and, who cares? It could have been anybody. The guy's being a good host, frankly. Now, you might think I'm not a Trumper. I'm not defending him. I'm defending rational thought. And this is a hit piece.
Prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein.
Well, most times, I think I got to pause. Most times, especially if somebody's hosting a party, the dance floor, if it's a party with a band or a DJ, the dance floor is kind of the center of attention. Even the food is usually off to the side. Then you'll have tables people can sit, and it kind of looks like this is no different. It looks like a wedding reception or something. Why wouldn't he be, she's making it sound scandalous that there's women in front of him on the dance floor. Well, so he's standing talking to a guest. He's being a good host. All right, well, I don't know if I can continue the last 30 seconds of this video. It's not playing. Anyway, let's move on. He leans in. They even admit they can't understand what they're saying. He does say, it does appear to say, he points at a woman and says she's hot. This is what I was talking about. They're talking about women. Big deal. So what? I hear women say that about men. I've heard women say that about women. But what they're doing is making this important to you. And they're also, again, guilt by association, making there be some question. And what are they going to do? Start congressional investigations? Maybe Trump's places need to be raided to see if he has a safe with CDs and underage girls. A lot of people have made big deals about him and his daughter. Now, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Okay? But the fact is this is just a hit piece. It's mind control. It's propaganda. And it's peddled as truth. And none of this has anything to do with the price of tea in China. He leans in and he says something else and they both laugh. And then Mika makes a big deal about that. What did he say? I don't know. Maybe he made a joke about his wife made him wear a pink tie. Who knows? This is garbage. So much garbage. Go outside and, go for a bike ride. Forget the news. It's so many lies, so much negativity. Little change of disorder. U.S. border amid confusion over Trump asylum rules facing lawsuits. Okay, I guess all I want to say about this, I don't even know if I scanned this earlier. Confusion. God's not the author of confusion. There's confusion over Trump asylum rules. Well, you know what? It's been 2 years into this presidency where the guy ran on building a wall, stopping the sealing up the borders, and it's only gotten worse. What does that tell you? 2 years. All the dude has to do is make the right phone calls and get the National Guard on the border. Just like that. Solve the problem overnight. In a week. They announce when they're doing the raids. It's ridiculous. Okay, anyways, that's all. All right, so there was one more story, and then this will be it, okay? Oh, there was this one too. I want to throw the MS-13 gang members indicted after medieval-style killing spree in L.A. I'm telling you that, well, hold on a minute. Let's see here. Where is the, where is it? Now I'm even going to forget what I was looking for. Had something to do with space, I thought. Oh, no, I know. Area 51. Okay, you've heard this, that 1.5 million people now. It was 1 million yesterday. Now it's 1.5 million. Air Force warns against storming Area 51 as event reaches 1.5 million in attendees. Okay. Well, I've heard that this started as a joke, like somebody made the page and then it just went viral, like things do. Okay. How that happens, one wonders. So as of Wednesday morning, 1.5 million people said they were attending the event. Yesterday it was like 500,000. Yesterday, the day before, and then 500,000 were interested. But now it's 1.5 million. Another 1.1 million indicated they were interested. Well, look, there's people talk about, well, they're going to strafe them with, bullets, like kill them. Even one of the Air Force people says, let's see, any attempt to illegally cross military installations or military training areas is dangerous. This area 51 is heavily guarded. They do a lot of testing of top secret aircraft, experimental things there, and who knows what else. There definitely have been some anomalous things that I've seen out there. And the fact is, though, that, they've got cameras and sensors and ground control, and even in the last, I think, 2 months, some dude, stormed it individually. A guy tried to drive in there. They shot him dead. There's signs all around saying that they can exercise lethal force, and they do. They have. Because they're being invaded by who knows who. They don't know who it is. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I don't like all the secrecy that goes on. There is a certain amount of secrecy that has to go on from, to keep things from enemies. But, the American people have been treated pretty shabbily about this phenomenon and manipulated by it and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, let me talk about this for 1 second. How this got started and why. Well, first of all, it's very unlikely they're going to be doing a National Guard at Kent State type of an event on if let's say even 1/3 of this many people show up out there. That's a big problem. They don't have the staff and the arms and everything to handle all of them. So yeah, they were right saying we've got the numbers, like what Jim Morrison say, they've got the guns, but we got the numbers. They can't shoot them all. But why, and this is what reminded me, I was going to talk about this, and what reminded me was how they're doing the ICE raids. They have announced it weeks in advance. Now it's a month or month and a half in advance. At first they did it, and then they backed off. They oh, we're not going to do it this Sunday. Now they're doing it again. It's why are you announcing this? How much more effective it is if you don't announce you're going to do it on national news. It's stupid. It's think for a second, people. why they're announcing on September 20th, it's quite a ways out, that they're going to storm Area 51. If there's anything out there that the whole purpose of the event is to retrieve or discover, don't you think they're going to move it? I mean, how stupid can they be? It also brings into question the legitimacy of the instigation of this. You know, you're going to start thinking, I think everything's a conspiracy, but it is true. All the world's a stage. It is true. There are conspiracies. Most of the big ones are true. Kennedy was not shot by Oswald. 9/11 was an inside job. Sandy Hook, a lot of problems with that. I mean, there's so many of them, okay? Fluoride in your water, you name it. They're true. I'm not a theorist. I'm a scientist. I look at the evidence. At any rate, it is a bit of conjecture, but it is, the odds are high. I'm an odds player. I say that frequently. I'm an odds player. The odds are high that this was, you know, accidentally on purpose. This Facebook sprang up and went viral. Okay? Now, what are they going to do? Well, first of all, why would they do it? This is a great opportunity for, if people do show up, you know, we have other kinds of weapons. We've got sonic weapons. We've got heat weapons that they mount on trucks and just point them at a crowd. I mean, talk about crowd control. It's like these people won't get anywhere near it. They can just do wide swaths of just, you know, mowing people down with sound and light and heat. Feel like their skin is burning off. You know, they don't even have to kill them. They sure make them really uncomfortable. And, you know, and show the people who's boss. You know, let's put this Area 51 thing to bed once and for all. You're never getting in here. Next time we'll gun you down. Or next time, you know, they got other ways. You know, they can drop tear gas. You know, they can, you know, do a crop duster on these people and gas them with something. Maybe something we don't even know about that, you know, just like mace or something, you know, that does something to them. It just debilitates them. I mean, you really, if I had the money and resources of the United States government, and little old Uncle Benny can sit here and think of this stuff. Do you think there aren't brainiacs in there that can think of it too, especially ones that have devious minds, to come up with ways to control populations and crowds and insurrections? You better believe it. Anyway, so we'll see what happens with this. You know, it's, if anything, Area 51 is still used for things, but as far as it being the big ET and UFO, you know, why aren't they doing this at Wright-Patterson? That's a big hot spot, you know. What about going for the Kandahar Giant somewhere? You know what that is? Look it up. You know, it's a story. You know, how true is it? I think it could be true. There's a lot of witnesses that tell the same story, that were former military or involved in the thing. Earlier this year, the Navy updated its guidelines how its pilots reported the sighting of unholy. So we've seen a lot about UFOs lately, and I mean for decades. But it's ramping up. You're getting now government officials talking about it. It's a big deception. Let me just add this. I've concluded the matter about UFOs. They're not extraterrestrials from other planets coming to Earth and having great knowledge and technology and stuff for us. There's fallen angels. There's wicked fallen angels that are doing what they did in the days of Noah in Genesis 6, that they are taking women. They're doing sex stuff on them, you know, whether it's impregnating them or who knows what else they do. They are creating hybrids of people, so that could be where Sasquatch comes from. That's a real creature. How do I know? I've never seen one. I've seen plenty of them on video, and there's what's called preponderance of the evidence. Okay? The evidence is overwhelming. There's something out there. And I've gone from wanting to see one to kind of thinking I don't want to see one. And we're talking the massive size of them, and the fact that they do take children and women and men. Go look at the missing hikers all over this country, around the world, really. People just go missing. And you can say, oh, it was a bear. No, there's a lot of other things. I can't get into that. So I'm kind of all over the place, but, you know, I just wanted to end this because there's there's this thing coming on, and it's like, well, why did this get started? This is really an organic movement, and they're getting it news traction. It went viral, and they've announced the date and the exact time it's starting. How are all these people going to, there's going to be a problem them camping out there in the first place. It's going to be like Burning Man, the environment. And when they start showing up, they can start being, they can enact an ordinance to arrest anybody within whatever, and they just start arresting people. There's just so many ways this could go. But they're going to show the people, first of all, they're going to show that the people who believe in UFOs, they're going to make them look like, they're going to marginalize them, okay? I think they've already been marginalized in some of these tweets by people. Area 51 is just Coachella for conspiracy theorists, okay? Michael Scott from The Office, I don't know what this is a scene from. It said Dunder Mifflin, so this is probably from the show. He tweeted out an image of Michael, I forgot this guy's name, and then Dwight. Me and the boys on our way to sneak into Area 51 to save the aliens. Oh, that's really funny, but it's also making light of it, It's just making light of people that are, why? I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to discern all the reasons for things. There could be reasons I couldn't even think of, But I do know this, that it won't be successful. It'll be a success, not for the people who are interested in the truth. It'll be a success for the people who suppress the truth. Not that there's any truth in Area 51. For all we know, it is just, secret aircraft that they're working on technology that has nothing to do anymore with alien technology, which, by the way, it is true, fallen angels taught the daughters of men, and they taught them how to do stuff with their makeup and all this kind of stuff. They taught astrology to mankind. They taught them metal arts. They taught them things that we weren't really supposed to know and that have been used for evil. So can fallen angels give mankind technology? Can they abduct and have sex with women? Yeah. Angels can appear as a human being and you wouldn't even know it. So if they can appear like that, the regular angels, did the fallen angels, did they lose that ability? Now, I make a distinction between fallen angels and demons and Nephilim. That's for another time. But there you go. That's Uncle Benny's Campfire Stories, almost exactly 90 minutes again. And, I'm really sorry for that, for myself, because this kind of takes a lot out of me. I don't like sorting through and slicing and dicing. I don't even cover every aspect of this stuff. It's just, I'm just riffing off this stuff. The lies, the confusion, the manipulations. It's just, it's so horrible. But let's leave on this word. Evil men and seducers. I put seducers and liars. They seduce people to false doctrines. Seduce people to believe things that aren't true. Shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. Deceivers are themselves deceived. Make no mistake. But continue thou, and I'm not going to correct the King James stuff. You do it in your head, okay? Get used to it. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, that from a child thou hast known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise unto salvation through faith which is in Christ Jesus. All Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, meaning complete and whole, fully equipped, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Well, that's from 2 Timothy 3. I hope so. I need a lot more of it. I got away from at least getting it undiluted. I get it mainly through listening to sermons on internet radio and stuff like that. But I kind of let my Bible get dusty, even my electronic stuff. And trying to fix that. And that's why I'm doing this. Because faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of God. So I need stronger faith. And it's for instruction in righteousness. It's for furnishing you. It's for reproving you. It's profitable. you know, for correcting, for instruction in righteousness. I need it. I need the whole counsel of God. And so do you, by the way. And I hope this is helpful to you. Hope it inspires you to take that dusty old book and apply it. It's not old, it's modern. It's same as it ever was. Quoting Talking Heads, same as it ever was, you know. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. And we're in those days. Now, I need you to help me remember that. And I hope you remember it too, or start thinking about it. All right, make a great evening. I think we got 89 minutes or 90. All right, well, good night. Signing off. I'm going to play my song for you one more time. I'll play the video. How about that? You like that? How about that? I'll play that for you. Kind of don't want to. All right, here we go.
Shut up, you Americans. You always talk, you Americans. You talk and you talk and you say, let me tell you something, and I just want to say this. Well, you're dead now. So shut up.
There isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us all for that.
Good night, boys and girls. Uncle Benny signing off.